Max Scherzer's story has always been one of controlled chaos, the kind of fire that doesn't simply flicker but roars with purpose, determination, and an intelligence that made him one of the most fascinating pitchers ever to set foot on a major league mound. When we talk about Max Scherzer, we talk about a man whose name became synonymous with intensity, excellence, and an obsession with mastery that pushed him toward the highest tier of pitching greatness. His legacy begins long before Cy Young awards and dogpile celebrations on championship nights. It begins with a young kid from St. Louis whose passion for the game wasn't shaped by glamour or spotlight, but by work ethic, restlessness, and an uncommon inner drive that wouldn't allow him to settle for anything other than constant improvement. Scherzer's life has always been marked by this forward-leaning energy, this refusal to stagnate, this hunger to transform potential into production. Even in his earliest years, long before the world knew his name, those who watched him up close could already sense that he was not built like everyone else. Something about him, his competitiveness, his willingness to refine every mechanic until it sang, made him different. That difference would soon define him. As he grew into the player the world would later recognize, Scherzer carried with him the weight of discipline instilled by a supportive and grounded family. His parents encouraged him not simply to play the game, but to respect it, to understand that excellence is a process rather than a moment. His brother, Alex, played a major role in shaping Max's relationship with the sport and with life itself, and the emotional gravity of that bond followed Scherzer throughout his entire career. Anyone who has heard Max speak about family knows that behind the fire of his persona lay a deeply connected and emotionally rooted foundation. It is one of the lesser-known but most important threads in the tapestry of his career. When he later became a husband and father, that grounding only strengthened. His home life gave him a balance that prevented the pressures of stardom from overtaking his spirit. His family became his reset button, a place to breathe when the rest of the world expected perfection from him every fifth day. This blend of ferocity on the field and gentleness off it became central to who Scherzer was, and it would follow him through every chapter of his baseball journey. His road to the big leagues took its first major turn at the University of Missouri, where Scherzer refined both his craft and his identity. College ball is often where young pitchers discover whether they truly belong in the upper echelons of the sport, and Scherzer thrived in that environment. His velocity jumped, his command sharpened, and his understanding of the game deepened. Scouts began circling like hawks. They saw what everyone else was beginning to realize. This wasn't just a talented arm. This was a future ace, a future franchise cornerstone, a future disruptor of baseball norms. His competitive spirit, the same spirit that would later become baseball folklore, was already fully formed. Whether it was weight training, bullpen sessions, or game preparation, he attacked everything with focus bordering on obsession. It made sense that he moved up the draft boards quickly, ultimately becoming a first-round selection. From the start, the expectations on him were enormous, but expectations are precisely what Scherzer always ran toward rather than away from. When he eventually made his debut with the Arizona Diamondbacks, it marked the beginning of a professional ascent that would captivate baseball fans for nearly 2 decades. His early years showcased electric potential, blistering fastballs, sharp sliders, and a changeup that evolved into a devastating weapon. But Scherzer was not yet the Max the world would later fear. He was still sculpting his identity, still chiseling away at the raw edges of his mechanics and his mentality. But even then, his outings were performances worth remembering. His famous multicolored eyes, one brown and one blue, became emblematic of the duality within him. The thoughtful student of the game and the relentless warrior who took the mound ready to cut through opposing lineups with ruthless efficiency. Arizona saw flashes of brilliance, glimpses of the legend he would become. And as much as those years mattered, his defining transformation awaited him elsewhere. His trade to the Detroit Tigers became the catalytic moment in Scherzer's evolution. Detroit wasn't just a new city. It was the crucible that transformed him into one of the most dominant pitchers of his generation. Under the tutelage of a star-studded rotation and a coaching staff that understood exactly how to unlock him, Scherzer evolved. His mechanics smoothed. His command improved. His repertoire gained structure. But more importantly, his confidence skyrocketed. This was where he became a Cy Young winner, where he became an All-Star, where he embraced the pressure of big market expectations and began living up to the destiny everyone saw in him years earlier. Detroit fans remember those years vividly. The fist pumps, the seven-inning battles, the culture of intensity that radiated from him every time he took the ball. He was no longer just an ace. He was the heartbeat of a team that came agonizingly close to winning it all. And then came Washington. If Detroit forged him, Washington immortalized him. In joining the Washington Nationals, Max took the final steps into baseball immortality. This was where he threw 2 no-hitters in the same season. This was where he struck out 20 batters in 9 innings, tying a record that only the truly elite touch. This was where he delivered some of the most iconic regular season performances any pitcher has ever produced. And ultimately, this was where he helped lead a franchise to its first World Series championship, pitching through pain, pressure, and impossible expectations. His postseason grit in 2019 became part of baseball legend, from being scratched with debilitating neck spasms to later forcing his way onto the mound in a win-or-lose game that felt like the culmination of his entire career. He wasn't flawless that night. He didn't need to be. What mattered was his resilience, his leadership, and his unwavering spirit. That championship run cemented Scherzer's status not just as a great pitcher, but as a generational one. Throughout his career, he moved to new teams, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Rangers, each time bringing with him the same intensity, the same fire, the same expectation of excellence. Even as age began to whisper its warnings, Scherzer defied every conventional timeline. His velocity remained high. His competitiveness remained unmatched. His preparation remained meticulous. His presence in any clubhouse elevated the standard of every pitcher around him. Younger pitchers listened when he spoke. Coaches respected the precision of his routines. Teammates fed off his energy. Max Scherzer wasn't just a pitcher. He was a culture, a mentality, a masterclass in what it means to refuse complacency. But woven through all of this professional glory was a family life that grounded him emotionally. His wife, Erica, often spoke about his compassion, his humor, and his dedication to their children. Off the field, Max was not the snarling competitor fans saw under stadium lights. He was relaxed, warm, present, and deeply connected to the people he loved. This contrast made his story even more remarkable. The same man who could intimidate the league's best hitters with a glare was the same man who gently held his children at night, who spoke lovingly about family time, who supported community efforts and stayed humble despite his fame. His world was balanced in a way that kept him whole. His success, in many ways, became a tribute to the people who helped shape him, especially his brother Alex, whose memory remained a guiding light throughout Max's entire career. As the years passed, Scherzer's accolades piled higher. 3 Cy Young Awards, over 3,000 strikeouts, a World Series ring, and countless moments etched permanently into baseball history. But numbers alone don't capture the essence of who he was. Max Scherzer represented consistency in an unpredictable sport. He represented accountability at a time when excuses often overshadowed effort. He represented passion during an era that sometimes treated passion as volatility. Every time he stepped onto the mound, you knew exactly what you were getting. Effort without hesitation, focus without distraction, competitiveness without compromise. The sport rarely sees players built like him, and it may be many decades before we witness another career that mirrors his combination of longevity, brilliance, and uncompromising fire. For fans, Max Scherzer became a symbol of what greatness looks like in real time. Not sanitized, not effortless, not gifted without struggle, but earned through every ounce of discipline and willpower a human being can muster. His career teaches us that talent is only the foundation, obsession is the engine. His story shows us that family can be both an anchor and a source of strength. And his legacy reminds us why baseball still matters. Because every so often, the sport gives us figures like Scherzer, players whose stories grow larger than statistics, whose presence elevates the game itself. As the years continue to unfold, as baseball changes and evolves, Max Scherzer's name will stand in the firmest corner of baseball history. Kids will watch highlights of his no-hitters, his strikeout masterpieces, his World Series nights, and they will learn what it means to pitch with heart. Coaches will point to his work ethic as an example of what true professionalism looks like. Fans will remember the emotional highs he delivered, the battles he fought, the fiery passion he carried every fifth day. And through it all, the legacy of Max Scherzer will endure not just as a statistical monument, but as a reminder of the extraordinary things one person can accomplish when they embrace their craft with total devotion. Thank you for spending this time reliving the journey of Max Scherzer, one of baseball's greatest competitors and most captivating personalities. If you enjoyed this tribute, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive celebration of the athletes and legends who shaped the sports world we love. Your support keeps these stories alive, and there are many more still to tell.